Hello and welcome to that time where I talk about what Tinto Talks has been talking about. And I'm going to immediately bring you in with this image right here. You are all smart cookies with functioning memories, unlike myself. So you will recall and remember that this is the first image that we were shown way back when, I can't actually remember when, and it showed us the political map mode of the Anatolia region, the Balkans region, etc. And it was awesome. Like, getting this map was awesome. It gave us, clues as to the start date. Actually, we managed to pinpoint within like a couple of weeks what this map was going to show us and what we were going to get in the game. And it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and people did point out some inaccuracies. For example, up here we have Ragusa sharing a shade of blue with the Republic of Venice. And this was apparently a mistake. This was apparently something that should not have happened, according to Octopus's69 here. Ragusa was paying tribute to Venice at the time, but other than that, they were 100% independent. So I hope Ragusa will actually be in the game as a playable nation, rather than just being a part of Venice. And this thread didn't get any developer attention. No developers commented on it to say, yeah, okay, you're right, we're going to fix that. But what we do have is one of the comments made today, not today, but one of the comments that we're going to be talking about today, made by Johan, saying, yeah, after form feedback, it's a good idea to portray Ragusa as an independent city-state vassal of Venice. This I'm putting in here, other than the fact that it's something that Tinto has been talking about in the comments, that's what this video is all about, but just to show once again the point of Tinto Talks. The point is not to say, look at what we've made. No, you can't touch. No, you can't have influence. No, you can't, have influence kind of sums it up, really. This is just us showing you to get you hyped and to, get you to pre-order. That's not what this is. This is to actively get feedback from the community on things that may have been wrong, that may be done better. And this is just further proof, yet again, that the community is having an impact where applicable. Of course, not all community feedback is good. There's been ample examples of really terrible feedback and requests, but this isn't one of them. This is just, if you have a good request, if you have a good suggestion, if you have something that you think that they have done wrong, get on the forums and say, because, there's proof right here. It can be worked on. It can be changed. It can be fixed. And I think that's awesome. Let's make a bloody good game together. Obviously, we're not making a game, but we're influencing. We're influencing. Influence is good. This is something we haven't seen before, and I'm all for it. So, let's actually get into the meat of today's video. And for starters, we're going to go to the Saturday building. This time we are going to be looking at the Royal Court building. It hires 100 noble pops. It is something that is specific to the capital. I imagine it says if in the capital, purely because you could probably build it and then move your capital, and this Royal Court would just stay standing there. It just wouldn't have an effect. It will give you some crown power, and it will give you efficiency of the cabinet. Which is something I don't think we've heard too much about, and what I'm imagining in the way that I imagine things when my mind just kind of goes, ooh, this would be cool, and now what if this? I'm imagining something similar to Imperator's political influence. Maybe I am wrong here. I don't recall them saying cabinet before, but maybe they have and I'm just forgetting because I do have a terrible memory. But if that is the case, that this is the first time we've heard cabinet, awesome. I want to know what it does. I want to know how we can affect it. I want to know how it functions. I want to know all the things. The required production method here has it needing wood. It requires metalworks, glass, fine cloth, books, gold, and I believe this is marble. So quite a hefty array of goods that we're going to need. But, also the construction costs are there as well. So Royal Court. This is probably something that we're going to be building in our capitals pretty much all the time. It seems like a pretty decent buff that you're going to get. And we have this image right here, the book with a question mark. Now, originally, in the video that I made on Wednesday, we saw this image. Or maybe it was the Wednesday previous. I don't recall. Either way. I was wondering what that possibly could mean. I had some really good comments in the comment section. Again, if you have comments, if you want to do it, comment section, it's very useful. I do read them. That said, basically, maybe it is able to be upgraded, but you require technology before you can upgrade it. And I thought the idea was probably spot on. So, yeah, props to the, half dozen people who maybe mentioned that. That would be probably the best thing for it. But anyway, we're scrolling on because we have some comments here as well. RIP Versailles. Speaking of that, you have to wait for a bit. We're gonna... Okay, what this could mean is, like, a bunch of things. Monuments. Maybe we're also gonna get those. I know there is this idea that Johan has confirmed that there are not going to be any monuments, but I've gone over it before. That's not the case. He has not confirmed that. Maybe Versailles will be a unique building that will be built in France. Who knows? Because Versailles was never... I don't think it was ever, but it may have been at some point. It wasn't the capital of France. And buildings are location specific, right? They are very location specific, and Paris, the capital of France, is not going to be the same location as Versailles. So Versailles could be a unique building, a monument, if you will, for France. Do non-monarchies get an alternative? Does it at least get renamed? Yes. I assume the whole shebang, it's probably they get an alternative and it does get renamed. Are there any advantages if the building exists in a non-capital location? Thinking, what if I annex a foreign capital? Is the building useless then? It depends on the word useless. It adds 100 nobles to the location, which is not 100% good for you. It's probably not 100% bad either. It also has this demand of goods, which raises prices, which can be good or not be good for you. Okay. What would it be possible to disable the royal court, or do I have to demolish it to save resources? You can close it, you can disable it, or you can destroy it. Okay. What's the difference between closing and destroying? Can you open your house after you've closed it? Yeah, most do every day. Technically, most companies close for weekends, and it's rather trivial to open again on Monday morning. Can you undestroy your house after you have it destroyed? Well, yeah, but that's called building a new house. And a bit more expensive than unlocking the doors and turning on the lights. Okay, Johan. Okay. We get it. Alright, moving on. This is the Saturday building out of the way. We're getting one building every Saturday. Last time it was the tannery, I believe. And yeah, now we're getting the Royal Court. But moving on, we have the responses to the 11th Tinto Talks, talking all about the armies. And yes, this is what I was talking about. It was, in fact, this Wednesday. But honestly, this was a beautiful dev diary. I very much enjoyed it. How many dev diaries do you have scheduled? Many. I'm looking forward to them. I will be covering all of them because at least until my hype dies and my hope is shattered, I don't expect that to happen. But hey, it fucking happened with Vic 3, so I'm not ruling it out. Is there any option to choose that rulers of our country will be the same as just in history? It would be great to start in 1337, but many good rulers have come and gone since then. I would love to play with each of these rulers. So basically what he's asking is, instead of having randomized rulers, we'd have absolutely 100% accurate ones. They die at the right date. They are born at the right date. Personally, I think that's a terrible idea, but hey. But the answer is no. During EU3 development, when they went with dynamic rulers, as EU1 and EU2 only had historical rulers, there was an outcry from part of the community, so we spent a large part of the development budget for the first expansion implementing it, and nobody used it. So, just, I don't know, I feel like this is not the first time when we've seen outright outcry from the community for a thing and then it not happening. And, yeah, I know exactly what it is. It's multiple start dates. It's exactly the same thing. There was an outcry for having the start dates, every single one of them, be completely fixed up. So they did it for the Art of War Art of War DLC, and then nobody used it. So yeah, we've heard it before. Will cavalry move faster? Depends. Depends on what. Also, faster than what? Maybe cavalry are slowed down more by marshes than infantry are. That could totally be a thing. But yeah, it depends on the terrain, I would assume. Does movement speed of units matter during battle, or is it only for traveling speed? Which one? I imagine this is which movement speed, because we do know if we go back up to the horse archers, they have the combat speed and they have the movement speed. So, yeah, does the movement speed affect their combat? Does their combat speed affect their like? I assume they kind of do. Like, yeah, maybe read the dev diary a bit further. Is the topic next week still related to the military? Because, of course, we were told that it was going to be something new and fresh and stuff. But no, next week is not part of the military dev diaries. Can I specifically raise levies in non-accepted culture provinces and have my unaccepted pops fight and die while my wars, while my core pops are insulated? The Austria-Hungary strategy? But it's basically culture conversion via conscription. But non-accepted culture pops, sure, the volume is likely to be far less, though. You'll get fewer troops from your non-accepted pops than you will from your core pops. So you're telling me that all these people who die for me just so I can own more land don't come back? Yeah. The military is pops. If the military dies, the pops die. I love that. I love that. If manpower is a separate mechanic and combat losses from regular regiments also deducted from your pops, how does the game determine which provinces' pops the casualties are spread over? Is it divided equally? So basically there's some nice abstractions. Maybe it is divided equally, but with weights, perhaps. Will cannons be a distinct resource? We'll be able to say have 87 cannons in my army. This is something I would very much like to have. Maybe even be able to unload cannons from ships to be used in a land battle. Also something really cool that I would love to know. So artillery will definitely use guns as a resource. After that, who knows? Do you mean drilling increases experience or tradition, or are they tied together? It only impacts the unit experience. Tradition gain is partly based on average unit experiences. Gotcha. Is there only one trade good representing all weapons? Nope, there is going to be 3. This is going to change. With how many individual goods Project Caesar has, expect at least melee weapons, ranged weapons, cannons, and muskets. So what is currently the case as of when he wrote this is guns and weaponry, but one of those things are relatively easy to rework, and they're iterating upon goods and buildings constantly. And we already know, I mean, we'll see it as we read through these, but we already know that this has already changed. There are going to be guns and cannons separately. So, you know, muskets, rifles, and such, and guns as in cannons, they're going to be separate goods. So that's nice. So that list of like 77 goods, just plus 1 on that one, I guess. Any new map to show? No. But not today. It's coming. Well, I mean, you already know because I already did a video on it, but there was maps coming afterwards. Does the manpower pool have an upper limit, such as a percentage of the population? Yes, you can only store 10 years of your manpower production. And then you're at your, I guess, manpower cap. Will your troops reinforce while in enemy provinces? No, your regulars need friendly territory to reinforce. And so the guy asked her about troops, and he answered with regulars. So that either means that mercenaries can reinforce in enemy provinces, or they don't reinforce at all. I don't know. But we do now know that you can bribe enemy mercenaries just like in Imperator, though whether the mechanic is identical or not, we have yet to see. Make the Azores more than one location. These are the islands off the coast of Portugal that Portugal should own at the start, and it's going to be 3 provinces, and I think later on he actually names them all. Do mercenaries present on the map, or are they off-map entity like in EU4? They are kinda off-map. They have specific provinces or locations that they're located in, but we're not going to be able to see them on the map like in Imperator, and personally that's great news for me. That is exactly what I was hoping for. Will regiments gain experience from fighting in war as well, and not just from drilling? Yes. What does unit weight affect? It is attrition related. Wait, what? There are naval levies? How do those work? Can you raise ships from your states? Yes. Very interesting news. When they are killed, I think this is like when the pops, our pops gonna die when troops die. Alright, moving on to the next page. There is, again, prolific level of community engagement here. With unit types, for example, steppe horse archers, is there a possibility to have 2 or more different types of cavalry like lances and archers mixed? Yes! This is huge news. This means that the military system that we're going to be getting is something that we either have not seen before or it's like Imperator. I'm leaning towards something we haven't seen before. I'm looking forward to it. I imagine important people like that would be scripted in, like he's talking about the historical rulers that we were talking about before. I don't know anything about Timur, other than the fact he was 1 year old at the start of the game. But I imagine it might be an event like the events that give you Elizabeth and Mary, and that will happen, including about Timur, I think, is expanded upon later. Asking about the combat mechanics here, are we sticking on the usual visual representation, you know, the unit battle screen, or is there going to be something different? And Johan just answers that he likes Excel, so who knows? Is the manpower you raise for armies directly your pops, or is manpower some arbitration? I think it means abstraction, where the more pops you have, the more manpower you gain per month, and if the units take damage, well, you lose pops. It is an abstracted layer of how many peasants are your possible soldiers. The unit stats, are they easily moddable? And he just basically shows the code for them. So this seems relatively easy to understand, and we'll be able to edit it ourselves. Modders, I think you're going to have fun with this. Regarding military units, are there special units in the game, like horse archers are one of them? I believe also English longbowmen have been confirmed to be another, so yes, there are some special unique units. Is raising levies instant, or does it depend on how much control you have in a province? Levies take time to spawn. If it's all in one region, it's slower than local. The French army will not reinforce in German lands. Of course, he's talking about reinforcement. Yeah, your army won't reinforce unless it's in your own lands, and levies don't reinforce at all. Talking about the army tradition, the experience, presumably it decays with losses and slowly over periods of peace and no drilling. Yes. Current location market in at the moment it's current location. I actually don't know what this is about. Let me just have a look. From which market are maintenance goods coming from? Okay. Is there a negative to having large standing army and lots of manpower buildings in terms of produced goods in the location? People aren't an endless resource, as we should all be aware. What's the role of auxiliary units? They are like donkeys in Imperative Rome. They're support. I hope this is about the special characters. Timur's state couldn't have been established without him, but he wants to see rulers such as Fatih Yavuz and Kanuni in the Ottoman Empire, Napoleon in France, etc. And yes, Timur will in fact be in. Does it only mean for regiments that have taken manpower attrition, or is it like when some units have grown old or the military service is over, so they need to get replaced? Every month some manpower is rotated out. This is about the -1 manpower per month that we saw upon the horse archer unit. Are levies raised on per province basis? Yes, they are. Will it be possible to mobilize only a part of a levy so that the impact on your country is less? Yes, you could do it once per province, so not like the Victory system of, Victory 2 system of your entire country gets mobilized. Is there an army professionalism concept, or that's changed to something different or not at all? That was a system, it's kind of too similar to army attrition and unit experience. This is something he's said a few times, that basically army professionalism was added because they needed to add a mechanic, and it's for him too similar to army tradition, but it was needed to be added so that there was something to sell. Kind of cynically, but what can you say, really? When a war ended and levies have been disbanded, would levy soldiers be sent back to where they come from, or were they randomly allocated somewhere in the nation? They go back exactly where they come from if they're alive. If I wanted to do a game as Hesse, where I become the mercenary capital of Europe and constantly renting out my highly trained army to the highest bidder, are there systems in place to allow me to do this? Yes. Awesome. Awesome news. How does combat width work with different regiment sizes? It's designed for it, alright, so it's not going to be a problem. Do armies and units no longer gain tradition or experience from fighting? Yes, they do. Not sure why you thought otherwise. If I build the Kurultai, I employ 5,000 peasants in it and get 50 manpower a month. I assume that the military units recruited in that location will see their casualties reduce the population that is employed in the Kurultai. If I have 5,000 manpower from this location, then the plus 50 per month will stop. If I have 5,000 manpower in the location without raising my units, nobody dies. But once I raise the unit, it will churn through the manpower at some rate due to the flexible unit cap. Only if the unit takes losses will pops die. So that -1 per month is not affecting pops. And again, by -1 per month, we're looking at... how do I go back to the start? Here we go. By that -1 per month, we're looking at this one here. So having horse archers be built, then this is going to be -1 a month. And then there was one on the Kurultai as well, giving the monthly manpower. But yeah, you only lose pops if they die, not from this. The systems seems a lot like a hybrid of Vic 2 and Imperator, maybe another game. Yeah, Vic 2, E4, and Imperator. Seems like that's what we're getting. That seems pretty good to me. Will longbowmen be special units? Yes, they will. Are there any drawbacks to losing half your male population in a war? Yeah, I would hope so. This seems like a bit of a silly question. So mercs don't affect pop and region they're from? Yes, they do, but they're not visible units on a map. So basically, it kind of seems like it's what I was hoping for, where mercenaries would have a home base and they would affect that home base location in a certain way. You know, a drain on population, but a boost in income. But you just won't be able to see, you know, a bunch of mercenary units standing on the map, which is, for me, the better system than any merc system we've had before. How strong are regular and mercenary regiments compared with levies? Would it be feasible for a rich country to maintain a small regular force and just hire mercenaries to fight your wars? Yes, but it also depends on which enemy you fight. It's kind of a non-committal answer. If it loses 25 men to attrition, will I take 0.25 from the pool to fully reinforce? No, it would take 25 men from the pool. A pop is a pop. It's quite simple. Are you restricted to one unit type per category at a time like in EU4? You can mix and match. We've seen this answer already. Levies. We should be able to raise them before the war. Apparently they had it, but it was too exploitable for the AI, so now you can only raise them while at war or if you have rebels. Can my location be depopulated because they all joined the Merry Company that was slaughtered somewhere 2 Irelands away? Yes. Yes, you can. What's the benefit of moving these to a different file? He's talking about the army, not army, but the unit code that we looked at earlier. Is it really better to have all demands for your military units in one file? Basically, because they all share the same maintenance construction, so it's easier to have it in a, you know, centralized location that all, you know, code can draw from. How are levies raised? From pops. Okay. Will levies' experience be reduced to 0 after disbanding them, or will it decay over time? Can you drill levies? Yes, it's 0. No, you can't drill levies. Good to know. Is tradition meant to be close to EU4 tradition, or you know, or not? It's closer to drill. Neither. So it's neither tradition nor drill. Is it more like professionalism then? Maybe that could be asked. But yeah, no, it's something new, I think. I can understand all basic weapons being represented by weaponry, but muskets and massive cannons made entirely out of metal being represented by the same goods sounds less than ideal to me. And yes, they're talking about splitting guns to firearms and cannons. This is the second time this has come up, and later on we'll actually see that it is, in fact, changed. Will it be possible to truly play tall in the game? Yes. Getting a huge income, huge population, fitting everything into a small land area. Yes, it's totally going to be possible. That's awesome. Just to make sure I understand, manpower is abstract in the sense that it isn't assigned to a specific pop, but using and losing manpower should decrease population proportionally from provinces that produce manpower. Is that more or less correct? Yes, exactly how it works. Good to know. If you can't raise troops unless you're at war, how do you deal with rebels? You face rebels, you can raise levies. It's not the first time this guy has kind of skipped things. What does the -1 pictogram? We've seen that here. It means -1 manpower. That's here we are. -1 manpower every month. Will the losses suffered by regular regiments only cost manpower, or the losses be reflected in reduction of population? It reduces the population. This syntax is ambiguous. Is this you can't raise levies when you're not at war? This is something that I actually pointed out when I was doing my original video on Wednesday, and I actually missed it until I got to the very end. But yeah, you can raise while you have rebels. Well, special units have their own unique icons. Many will. If I lose control of the province the building's in, do I lose the replenishment of the force drawn from the province? If you still have manpower pool, then you'll get some reinforcements. But you can't reinforce anyway if you're not in a friendly location. My question is related to the diplomacy of war. If the levies of an AI country are wiped out, will that country be greatly willing to make peace? Yes. Because you cannot you can't reinforce levies. So once they're gone, they're gone. Very interesting. Regiment size increases as time goes on, but I'm curious. With a larger 3,200 regiment, you'll be able to split them. Why would you? Apparently, is the answer to that one. Is there a cap to the manpower pool a building can provide, or can 5,000 people be employed there, potentially provide more than 5,000 manpower? If they provide 50 a month, then the pool is less than the max. Alright then. He doesn't understand how manpower works, but here is like one of the really good comments here by Johan. He's basically explained step by step exactly how this all works. You have a manpower pool. A horse archer regiment reduces the pool by 1 manpower every month. It's just like getting old and retiring. A Kurultai, if it's fully supplied, adds 50 manpower every month and allows a pool of 3,000 manpower. It's 3 years. Sorry, 5 years. Building a single horse regiment of 100 men will cost 100 manpower. So you build 25 horse archer regiments that will cost you 2,500 manpower and have a monthly upkeep of 25 manpower. You supply 50, you have an upkeep of 25. That means you will regain 5. No, that's wrong math. I feel like this is a typo that was... I feel like this is a typo, right? I don't think... The math ain't mathin' on this one. I think he meant to say 25. So you've got plus 50, minus 25, and you will then regain 25 a month, meaning restoring manpower pool much slower, which makes it take 50 years to maximize your manpower pool without regular army raised. If you fight a battle with your 2,500 horse archers and lose 30% of it, you now need to regain 750 manpower from the pool while still maintaining the 25 manpower upkeep. Disregarding the fact that losing pops is bad for you, losing manpower is not quickly regained either. This is essentially showing that we are going to have a much slower game, I feel, because you're not going to be able to just blitz through country after country after country. War is going to have much higher cost in this game than it does in EU4. And I think it's going to very nicely prevent that snowball effect, or at least slow that snowball effect right down. A lot of people are worried that, you know, with the extra 100 years of game time, we're going to get into a situation where we're not going to be able to hit the end game before we've completely conquered the world. I don't see that happening. This system seems like it's going to pretty nicely prevent that. Will maintaining a standing army be expensive? It won't be cheap. Good answer, I guess. Is army experience going to become sort of mana, like what you can spend on army attrition like in Imperator? Nope, it is just values on each regiment. So we're not going to get like a military experience system like Imperator, it seems. Here we're talking about what the locations are named for the Azores: Ponta Delgada, Angro de Heroism, and Santa Cruz Flores. Johan, the Kingdom of Sweden's levy screen states that levies will gather in all region capitals. If we go and have a look at that, it'll gather in all region capitals. So this is something I missed at the time. So good on, where are we at? Bloody here. Imperative Roman. So a region capital is the biggest and most important place you own in a region. That is important information. We have not had that in any system, so it's almost certainly going to be the provincial capital as well. And it's now also, you have regional capitals as well. So I imagine this is going to be important because we're going to have, we are going to have special buildings that we know can only be built in capitals, special buildings we can only build in cities. I imagine we're going to get special buildings that we can only build in provincial and also regional capitals. So really making every location kind of feel different is awesome. Whether or not regulars have a gold upkeep, or is the upkeep only goods and manpower, it's also gold. There is also a gold upkeep. While Johan is here, I'm going to ask something related to 2 previous dev diaries. A stone quarry was shown that produces 1 stone and 1,000 workers and a bunch of input goods. Kalmar was shown to produce 1 stone with 1,000 workers and no input goods. Does that mean RGOs don't ever need good inputs? So basically, it's an abstraction to make RGOs work and to not have a circular loop that crashes all things. Good. I mean, we don't want to get to in a situation like potentially the myths and the problems around late game Vic 2 where you have loops in the economic system that kind of break the economy after a while. So getting all of these like not sorted out early is obviously a really good thing. When can we expect to learn about how tech will work at the end of the summer? I'm very much looking forward to that. Are the provinces of Sweden the same as the landskap? This is Sweden's way of demarcating regional borders and such. Some of them will be the same, yes. Is there a drawback to doing genocides by recruiting only from non-accepted cultural provinces? Asking the hard-hitting questions here. You can't build any manpower-producing buildings where the dominant culture is not accepted. Is interesting information that we have not learned before. Can we merge levies with 1 click? Yes, we can. Will the deployed armies affect your max manpower pool? Like those 2,500 horse archers, will have your max manpower pool now be 500 or it will still be 3,000? It will still be 3,000, but it takes forever to regenerate. Will there be alternate unit paths for indigenous natives? What natives are we talking about? Either this means we're not getting natives, or it means that there are multiple different types of natives and they all have different alternate unit paths. I don't know. Johan, he's a funny guy, but I just want the information at this point. Does control influence how many levies you can get from a province? Yes, it does. Does control affect manpower? Yes, it does. That's also very, very important to know. Will the new combat speed modifier, along with the flanking ability, impact significantly the duration of battles? He does not want to see month-long battles like in EU4, and apparently combat should not last for months. So we will see how much that affects the game. I'm of the opinion that yes, while EU4 combat lasting months is not realistic, it is better for gameplay that it is that way, sometimes, if there's enough troops. If battle... I've seen multiple people say that battles should be one-day affairs, like the army hits into the other army, and then you get the pop-up saying, how they did. And you don't have any ability to reinforce from anywhere. And I am of the opinion that that's a fucking terrible idea. I really am. And the implications on gameplay are not being considered by the people who want this. I'm not saying that it's a difference of opinion here. I'm just saying that you're wrong and you have not thought about this. If we have instantaneous battles, sure, way more realistic, cool, good job. But it will lead to a situation where the only way to play the game is going to be to have all of your armies in a single doom stack marching around, and tactics be damned. It's just not going to matter anymore. And that sucks. That is a terrible system. It's why CK3 warfare is kind of way more boring than EU4's. Because you have to do the big death stack. That's how that game works as well. Even though it lasts for months at a time, those battles as well, you still have to do the death stack. It's not the right path to go forward. And I hope that, this here is not a sign that we are getting far too short battles, because I would like to be able to reinforce from a location or two away. and not be completely wrong-footed because a battle started and I'm not close enough to reinforce with reinforcements. Yeah. People who want this are they don't think. It is just that simple. Do bigger division sizes require more goods and manpower? Yes, but not more combat width. That is, the division size is going from 500 or 100 to 3,000. I hate when in EU4 you fight a war against another player for 20 years, and after a Pyrrhic victory, you get attacked by somebody who was 20 years AFK developing and building their country. And now you have to surrender, and he makes a horrible piece asking for all your trade nodes. I just want to mention this so that you try to create a system where balanced and interesting wars are encouraged, and unilateral wars are not. It pisses him off as well. Okay, well, I hopefully you're going to do something to make a system where you won't be pissed off. That would be nice. I expect this is a bit of a long shot, but is there a system in place for allowing women to be conscripted too, with all the manpower pop ramifications that might go along with that? It is abstracted away. Would an occupied fort location count as a friendly location? Yes, but it's far less efficient. So you can... Okay, this is actually something I had not seen until right now. You can't reinforce in enemy locations, but you can reinforce if you have occupied the location. Okay. It's far less efficient, but it's not zero. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I mean, it makes sense, but I feel like I would like it to be the case that this would happen if your occupations could trace a line to your own territory or a port. Because I feel like, marching my army into the center of someone's country and sieging a single city should not be good enough to achieve reinforcement. And with this, it's kind of... We can literally achieve this in EU4 by just tweaking the defines.lua file. You can change the amount of reinforcement you get in enemy territory and in control. Like, it's all stuff we have the ability to change. Okay, this one leaves me with a little bit more questions. He said when the regiment loses strength, pops die too. Does that mean the buildings regenerate manpower, turn pops into manpower? As the manpower depletes, new pops are turned into manpower and thus killed? No. Manpower is merely a count between pops and regiments. Good to know. Will we be getting new and improved colonization mechanic? Yes. I don't know what you expected with this. Him saying, no, it's the fucking same thing that not very many people like. Of course he's gonna say yes. With the idea of levies being directly related to pops and professional armies being loosely related to pops, would the idea of a total war be a terrible idea? Yeah, that would be the idea. That's good to know. Honestly, I'm really excited to play this in multiplayer. I really, really am. Are the losses that Merc companies suffer still felt somewhere by initially being detracted from a localized pop? Yes. So nice. I didn't have a specific one in mind, but for instance, New World ones, including North, Central, and South American or Sub-Saharan ones, groups that were not able to field artillery with their armies, talking about that native unit paths. And Johan asked which ones. Yeah, if you can buy cannons or firearms off the local market and can recruit proper regiments, then you can field them. If you can't, then you can't. That's awesome. It's not a case of I have... unlocked Tech 7, therefore I can build cannon now. It's, I can buy guns, therefore I can play with cannons now. That's awesome. Interesting idea, but I gotta ask, won't this be a massive nerf to multicultural empires, like historical Austria? If they're multicultural, they are, per definition, have at least one accepted culture that is not the primary culture. Fair enough. Another question. You said we'd be able to mix and match unit types in an earlier reply, so we'll be able to also assign different generals for different regiments in the army. No, each army has one general. Okay. Will the Hussites of Bohemia get some wagon forts and early artillery? Yes, there are some unique units for them. 5 MP, you meant 25. Yeah, it's what I thought. It would be nice if you went back and, edited your comment, maybe? I think probably some flavor of enslavement, then building or some other mechanism for converting slaves into manpower. Apparently that is the thing you can do, yes. Any chance we can get a list of raw materials, climates, vegetations, and terrains before those posts start? Talking about the map posts. Good point. And on this good point, we're gonna look at this post right here. This is prime information. We can see every single type of climate: tropical, subtropical, oceanic, arid, etc. You can read. I know you're a smart cookie. We can see every type of vegetation. We can see every type of topography. There are fewer here than I would have expected, but I also can't think of what else I would add. We can see every single type of naval terrain. And what is more interesting to me, and more, I think just more interesting as information, we can also see all the raw materials. All the food-related raw materials. We're getting wool, wild game. I've seen some people asking what wild game is, so just to let you know, it's pheasants and rabbits and deer, shit that you shoot. I guess in these days they probably shot it with a bow and arrow, but that kind of game meat. We got fish, wheat, soybeans separately, maize separately from wheat, rice and sturdy grains. These are all different kinds of the same thing, really. They're all grown grains, I guess. Legumes, which I mentioned and saw in the previous video. I couldn't think of the word, but the word I was looking for was lentils. Lentils are a legume, but also beans and peas and such. Potatoes, livestock, olives, dates, and fruit. And then we have other raw materials, and just to point out the very interesting ones here that we've not seen before: gold and silver are separate goods. We have tin and lead. We have fiber crops, which is an interesting one. I'm not sure what's wrong with just the word hemp. I feel like that could be in, but either way, it is what it is. We have our classic woolly mammoths. I'm sure it is. We're going to see people asking about woolly mammoths in Iceland in this game. It's going to happen as soon as we get a Tinto map based on Iceland. I swear it's going to happen. But of course, we're talking about like walruses and such. We have medicaments. I love that word. I don't know why it's so fun to me. Saltpeter, which is used in the manufacture of gunpowder. We have alum, which is used in the manufacture of clothing. It's used in the manufacture. It's basically a binding agent for dyes to bind into clothes or cloth. So I believe we're probably going to get a building. It's not going to be a tanner, but it's going to be, you know, somebody who dyes clothes, a dye, or I don't know. Basically, we're going to have alum and cloth be a production method input that turns cloth into fancy-ass cloth. But also spices, wine, elephants, marble, and mercury, which is going to be an interesting one that we have not seen before. But yeah, this is really, really interesting information here. So yeah, awesome that he would do this. If a province generates 50 manpower a month, then does it eliminate 50 farmers created? No, it is abstracted until the manpower dies. Good to know. Finally, in previous Tinto talks, you stated there won't be building slots. Will there be any sort of hard cap or soft cap on buildings other than the lack of pops? No, but many pops have max levels. So we're getting levels of buildings. We already knew that. For some reason, it looks funny that the 0.2 horses is sufficient maintenance, because 0.2 horses is a dead horse. It's not 0.2 horses, it's 0.2 ducat of horses per... The fuck is a ducat? What? What is a ducat? My AI is not finding the answer. Oh, a ducat is a unit of measurement for farmland used in Switzerland and other German-speaking regions. Measure the amount of land that could be plowed in one day. Okay, so it's the amount of land used for a horse. Good to know. Good to know. Like acreage and all that shit. You can still pull levies from those locations, though, right? What locations are we talking about here? Can't build manpower producing buildings where the dominant culture is not accepted. But you can build manpower. Yes, but non-accepted cultural levies are very small unless you give a lot of laws and privileges around it. It takes some time for me to realize that it's a Swiss unit, thanks to Wikipedia, thanks to my AI. Is the unit for goods in Project Caesar or some dynamic localizations? Wikipedia says it's a measurement of area. You're completely unfamiliar with this. It was silly. It's all units for goods are just arbitrary. Okay, so thanks, Johan. Be less arbitrary in future. But yeah, that is all of the responses to the Tinto talks. but oh my gosh, this is going to be a long video. That's not all that we got. Of course, it's not all that we got. It's never all that we got. We have here, it was mentioned earlier that unhappy estates wouldn't provide levies, being the implication that you can pull levies from every estate. That is correct. Maybe that's why it was reluctant to have more estates for balance reasons. Another question, do different estate levies provide different types of units, like nobles being knights and heavy infantry where peasant levies wouldn't have access to knights? Yes, that is awesome as well to know. There was a post asking for automated warfare, and Brenya here says that he thinks he's going to get similar automation to Imperator. You hand over stacks to the AI to control. It will be similar to that one, but more evolved. Good to know. I was never a massive fan of it, but I didn't use it, so it didn't really affect me. So if it's more involved, maybe it's going to be better. Maybe I'll start using it. It doesn't affect me that this is in. I wouldn't be sad if it wasn't, but hey, it's nice. And then finally, of course, we had the Tinto Maps thread. And when I recorded this, it was very soon after the Tinto Maps was put up. And since then, actually, more maps were added to the thread itself. So, of course, we have the locations. I believe that was in. But then the provinces was not. This was added later. So these are the provinces in Holland, which is very interesting indeed. You can see all of these. People who know more about the region can comment on the accuracy or the heinous inaccuracy of it. Good for them. It's not something I know too terribly much about. But yeah, lots of different maps here that we've seen before, but there are also some comments, so we'll go through those. Are we planning on doing Tinto maps for all regions of the globe? Yes. Fucking awesome. Asking for the justification for having Dutch and Flemish cultures be separate in 1337. So there are three options. Just go with Dutch based on the language. Portray the 4 regional variants of Middle Dutch. Opting for an intermediate level grouping Flemish, Brabantic, and Limburg under Flemish, Hollandic and Dutch Low Saxon groups under the Dutch. That's the one they decided to go for. They also discussed internally Overijssel and the Dutch Low Saxon region. We have I have to review a bit the German cultures, and it may change depending on that. In any case, they made the series precisely to gather feedback. So, again, this is just going back to what I said at the very start of the video. This whole scenario is entirely based around getting feedback. So, if you know more about the Dutch region, really just send that information in. I do recall there was a thread about this is all of the German like topography and such, and these are the sources that I used, like not obviously mine, but someone else had posted this, and the devs responded saying, keep this saved and send it in when we're going over the Tinto maps of Germany, and that'll be very useful. Having it all just separately spread into different threads is not super good, but if there's a region of the map that you know tons about, go get that information, save it, and when Tinto Maps goes over that region, you've got a perfect opportunity to make that region as good as it possibly can be. Like, that's what this is all about. I believe the Low Countries had heavy dependence on the English wool to supply its cloth production. This is important enough to impact the diplomacy around the war, the 100 Years' War. Not sure if having wool resources nearby would fit with the historical economic dynamics of the area. If you're heavy on producing cloth in your cities, and you really can in this region, you might need to import more wool from other markets. This is obviously talking about the this map that we have here, and seeing that there's quite a bit of wool here. There's some wool down here. There's not a whole ton of wool. Whereas I imagine England is going to be quite heavily caked in the stuff. On terrain, what are the possible climates, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, we have the thing that we've already gone through. What is wild game? And they posted a link. I'm curious why we didn't see a map of provinces, and they added it. I've just shown that. You're a medievalist. Name every castle. Funny. English vocab might be limited. What are sturdy grains in Utrecht, and how is it different from wheat? So the game's description of sturdy grains. They are different kinds of cereal grasses that have been domesticated in many parts of the world at different points in time ever since the Neolithic. Their greater resistance to poor quality soils and dry conditions made them into a more important food source in semi-arid regions compared to other types of grain. And about the colour of the goods, they'll change that over time. The work in progress for all visual stuff, of course. But yeah, having recently watched Clarkson's Farm Season 3, I currently find myself to be, quite an expert in all things farming, and therefore this makes perfect sense to me. Is there a possibility for Dutch to turn sea into land? Not at the moment. Maybe, depends on the code technology he hopes is ready soon. That is insane to me. That is insane to me that we're in a situation with a Paradox game where we might be able to affect the map itself in a way that we just have not been able to in any game that they've made ever. And this is like, he's waiting on code technology, or yeah, we might be able to do the whole Dutch polders thing. Oh, if they've managed to pull that off, holy, that is impressive. Our name abbreviation is going to be a thing on the political map. You find Z harder to interpret than the small Zeeland, which would just zoom in to see. So they're still testing how they want this to appear on the political map. You might have noticed there is a certain region to the east of the Low Countries which poses some challenge about this. Yeah, I think he's probably talking, actually, if I just zoom up on that, to put, I mean, yeah, you can't really see what the hell that is supposed to be. Cambrasis is also going to be quite difficult to really get a feel of what we're actually looking for. SM, who knows? Aachen. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to really get a grasp of what a bunch of them are when they're abbreviated and you don't know what the country is. I don't understand why Riparian Frankish is so much in the south. Those German cultures around Luxembourg and Trier are called Mosel Frankish. Riparian is around Cologne and Aachen. It's a work in progress, of course. Again, asking about the provinces map mode, and here we have the provinces map mode. Are there toggles in settings to show location borders or province borders in the political map? Right now, locations are not shown or even slightly perceived there, and it depends on zoom level. And this is something that I have an issue with, and I actually make a comment about it later. And Johan, if you're watching this, and I know you do watch these videos, please consider what I ask and do it, because I really want it, like, quite a lot. But anyway, we'll get to it when we get to it. Is it possible to answer, is Flanders independent here or vassal France? It's independent, and then here. Here, wait, no, this is not my question. This is me asking what the difference between a wood and a forest is for the game. And I just want to point out that I had upwards of like 24, maybe 36 comments telling me, instructing me, chiding me on the difference between forests and woods. But hey, it was an important question to ask, damn it, and I don't feel stupid at all. Screw you guys. But yeah, forest is just denser vegetation than woods. Borders look a little weird as the country code seems to extend beyond them in some places. Work in progress, as yeah. And here, this is my question about the zoom. Can we have a setting that we can change? While zoom in to change map mode was cute when it first debuted in, I think CK. No, Imperative was the first. God damn it, Imperative debuted so much shit. It kind of just want to have control. I say he, I'm talking about me. I want to just have control of my map modes. let me press keys to change the map and have zoom just zoom. And I understand some people do really like that when you zoom in, you're getting more of a terrain view. Then you zoom out and it's more either pay-per-view or it's more, colors of the map, standard political map mode. Good for you. I hope you get to keep that situation for yourself. I just hope that I can toggle it in the options where zooming doesn't change the map at all. It just zooms in. Please let me have that. I don't like the fact that the map changes when I zoom in. I quite like sometimes having the political map mode when, the one that you get when you're zoomed out. I quite like that, but I want to get closer, and I want to get that same map mode when I'm really close for, thumbnails or just because it looks fucking cool. Let me. Why not? When you zoom out enough, it's just black. So what? Just let me change my map modes. I want the control over this. I think having zoom be the method that we change any map modes at all is just not a situation I want to be in. I would like to have that just be a toggle, and then the people who like that can have that, and that's perfect for them. I don't like that. I'd rather not have that. Like Victoria 3 and CK3 are the worst examples for this. They're really terrible. Imperator was okay because its political map mode didn't change as you zoomed. It was only the terrain one that changed when you zoomed. And hey, I didn't fucking use the terrain one because I didn't like it. It's fine, it's just, yeah. Maybe it's better to call the economic market the market of Bruges. And yeah, Antwerpen was convenient gameplay-wise as a centre. It's between Cologne and London market centres, but testing Bruges instead of Antwerpen is something that we've internally discussed and that they may do soon. So the Antwerpen market may be changed to the Bruges market at some point. Where is it? Here. So that's, again, feedback. Might change things. Alum was used for the dyeing process. I guess somebody asked about it. It was needed for cloth and glass, as it's a great binder. Good to know. Talking about the Drenths and the Bend theme, basically talking about issues that he has with the map, including memes. And yeah, Pavi just sent it to the team. They're looking at the information. And again, feedback, it works. How clickable are locations and how much can you zoom in? So it wouldn't be taking too many tries to click one location. Pretty much what? You can zoom in enough to click individual locations. Good to know. Are the light blue nations vassals of France? It will be shown in... Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll see it later. They're answering the same question there. What you guys get from Roman Flanders from? First time you're hearing of the term, but not generally familiar with the area around Lille. Roman Flanders might be related to Romance Flanders, perhaps. And it indeed does reference whatever Romance Flanders is. Historic term for the part of county of Flanders which Romance languages were spoken, such as varieties of Picard. Good to know. The naming convention is a bit inconsistent in some places, and it's a good call, I guess, when seeming to say, Bruges and Ghent don't follow the same naming logic, whether it is endonyms or exonyms or anglicized or not, etc. Antwerpen market, no Lisboa market. He's rioting. Next week might be a good opportunity to discuss this and riot, because next week we're going to be getting an Iberian map, which is going to be very exciting indeed. Will there be a system to discover coal? No, it's already there from the start of the game. It will work differently to EU4. Good. Plan for next week is show the whole Iberian Peninsula. Yes. They're using Köppen climate classification worldwide to have consistent climates. Just asking about how the climates are going to work. Is there no beer in Belgium? Well, he's only been to Belgium a few times, but he hasn't seen beer mines or beer trees there, and all the beers he tried were made from breweries. Raw materials and manufactured goods, they are separated, and that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Another curiosity, how do you determine the ruggedness of the landscape? Was it done by hand or programmatically? It was done by hand using topographical layers on GIS. And again, I wondered what GIS was in my previous video, and then I got a bunch of comments telling me what GIS was. And I've forgotten what it was, so I don't know. You can tell me in this comment again. I don't know why this is an answer for this, but we got a population map for the Netherlands, for the Low Countries, for a bit of Germany. I wasn't expecting this. We got population. And we know exactly how many people, lived in Antwerp, 64,000. Or in Bruges, I think it's like this one, I don't know. Amsterdam, Den Haag, Utrecht. We know how many people live there, or based on, according to the game. That's such good information. I obviously have no way to verify whether any of this is correct or not. But hey, this is information. And I also noticed I was dead spot on when I called the map. It's another map. The font being it begins with a C. I called the map font, but I recognize it very specifically because these bloody threes dipping so far below the line. It annoyed me when I was making my thumbnails, and I changed it to not be like this. But now it's here as well. It begins with a C. Whatever. You can eat wool, and you only just learned of that now. You can eat sheep. Oh yes, because that's a good. Here it is. Food related, wool. True. You can't eat wool, but you do eat sheep, so that makes sense. How does a country like Gelray exercise control in its exclaves? This is so huge. This is something else that I called. The HRE allows control to propagate through it. So that is why the HRE is important, and that's why exclaves can exist, and we don't need things like bailiffs to exercise control there. HRE just allows control to go as if it was your own land. That's awesome, awesome news. And it's exactly what I called. Currently, he's applying for jobs in the GIS sector, so he's curious. Can you expand on the technical part? They use ArcMap and QGIS. They gather maps over the years from different sources. Many others georeferencing maps. Alderon has a database of his own, as per his previous experience as a modder on Mayo and Texas. So that's what they're been using there. What's the in-game implications of this? Basically, forests being denser than woods. Slow movement speed for everything, and some other impacts. This is huge. Forests can block fog of war completely, while woods can only block visibility from the sea. Are we going to be able to hide our armies in forests? Is that going to be a thing that we can do? Because that's insane. That's insane. That is a huge bit of information on the warfare system that we had no idea about. That's new. I don't like sand. Yeah, no one likes sand, really. Can we get city tags, like in Hoi 4 and the Atlas mode in Imperator? They look pretty neat. Also, will the player be able to rename in-game locations? So you pass the feedback on to the team. And about the second question, yes, it's currently possible to rename locations. It wasn't possible in Imperator, so that's interesting. I hope there will be some heat map for population density. There is, but the screenshot was taken with no country selected. Good to know. And final page. You have a question regarding the map feedback. Do you have some ground rules written down somewhere in regards to which kinds of tags you're looking for to be on your map for Project Caesar? Yes. What constitutes an independent tag in Caesar? Yes. Which tier of the feudal vassal system are represented through unique tags in Caesar and which ones aren't? It's more depending on the region, because the feudal system greatly diverged on how it was shaped and organized among different regions of the world. Are province redrawings still possible or not? Yes, it's one of the reasons behind Tinto Maps. What a dream that the first Tinto Talk map discussion is about his own region. Good for you. I'm looking forward to Britain. And yes, there is a bunch of amazing feedback by people, like, unbelievably, again, talking about bloody Bentheme and Drenthie. This guy is obsessed, but it's awesome. Like, that kind of thing is exactly what they need, what they want, and yeah. And more great feedback there as well. Can location names change over time? It doesn't mean change based on who owns the location, but something like historical settlement that's relevant early in the time and being replaced by a different one in the area becomes more important later on. Not organically, but maybe through events, perhaps? I really like all maps and all, but I'm worried about one thing. You can clearly see states that have only got one location. Something similar is taking place in Vic 3 with states like Anhalt or Mecklenburg-Strelitz. But after you conquer two locations of the same province in Victoria, they merge permanently. It's different to Vic 3. Shocker. Game different to Vic 3? Couldn't be. Couldn't be. The location where St. Petersburg should be will be named something different before 1703, and St. Petersburg afterwards. It'll be through an event. Yeah, that's not a problem. Please be aware, if Tinto Maps are to be released every Friday, you may have to say goodbye to the sweet Friday night for some months. Okay, they don't have much of a Friday evening, but it's fun to read and answer a discussion about maps. Again, we're all map nerds here. We all like maps, so it's fine. It's fine. Does it mean that if countries between your capital and your exclave builds and improves roads, you also benefit from it? Yes, awesome. He really likes maps, but he's worried about a thing. We can see... oh, okay, that's exactly the same question, but answered by someone else. Of course you can acquire single locations. It's incredibly funny. It's incredibly funny, because this is not the first time that it has happened. And you can definitely see the difference here, because the same question was answered by two people. Pavia, yeah, the system's different to Vic 3. Very neutral, very, very... You know, it's different. Johan, of course you can acquire single locations. As if to imply that not being able to acquire single locations is something unthinkable, unheard of. It's you know, of course you fucking can. What are you talking about? Of course you can. I just find it funny. It's not the first time that there's been this, let's call it just snark. It's funny to me. Does this apply to all feudal subjects like French vassals, or how Mazovia has exclave in EU4? Depends on the subject type, and it's talking obviously about how control or proximity can go through neutral in the case of the HRE. Suppose you're a Hess. Any way to prevent Hess from acquiring single locations in a snake line to reach the ocean? It's just inefficient to control. And then finally, how big is the goddamn map? EU4 map is 5632 by 1048. The base data is... it's fucking huge! Holy! EU4's map, and like I can show you this because I have, you know, screenshots from EU4. Yeah, got my own screenshots here. EU4 map. This was the F10 thing that we're knowing is going to be in the game as well. This map, if we look in properties, you can see the exact size of it somewhere. Where? Details. 5632 by 2048. So, you know, this guy was wrong. But this is the dimensions of what we're getting in EU4. These are the dimensions. It's 3 times wider. More than 3 times wider. And it is 4 times as tall. We know we're getting a different aspect ratio then. But yes, this is all I have time for you today. This is the longest Tinto Talks video I think I've done so far. My throat is killing me now. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you continue to enjoy the Tinto Talks and everything that's coming along here, because I'm really enjoying covering this game. I'm enjoying the hype, and I know there's always comments. Every single video I've done so far, there's been comments about I think everything looks great, but you need to, you know, calm the hype, because you're just gonna get disappointed because, hey, it's Paradox and that's all they do is disappoint. But at the end of the day, I'm enjoying being hyped, and I would rather be hyped for the next year or whatever, and then be disappointed, than just be a dry cynic, not getting my hopes up, and then have a smug sense of, I told you it was going to be shit, if it turns out to be shit. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be awesome, and everything that I've seen so far looks awesome. Just let me control my own map modes, because zooming to change them is a terrible idea, and I don't want that. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you for more Tinto Talks on Wednesday. Bye-bye.